Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining my presentation at the P99 conference. My name is Steve Heller, and I'm the president and chief consultant at Chrysalis Software Corporation. I'm also the author of several books, one of which had the unexpected side effect of introducing me to the woman who would later become my wife. For the past 6 years, I've been working on a novel hash table designed for low latency, and today I'm going to explain how it differs from previous designs. There's an old saying that all problems in programming can be solved by adding another level of indirection, except the problem of having too many levels of indirection. In such case, the solution is to remove a level of indirection, and that's exactly what this new hash table does. First, let's look at the previous state of the art in hash tables. Here's a conventional hash table for variable length data. This algorithm requires at least two random accesses per record, one to the table to retrieve the pointer to the record, and a second one to follow the pointer to the actual record. With these random accesses costing in the neighborhood of 100 nanoseconds each, a conventional hash table starts out with a baseline of 200 nanoseconds before doing any useful work. Is there a way to remove one of those random accesses? For inspiration, let's look at the well-known solution to this problem in the case of fixed-length records. As shown in the diagram, the standard approach to this problem is to use open addressing, where the hash table is a flat array of slots, each holding the full key value record itself. Insertion hashes the key to a slot, probes linearly for an empty slot, and stores the record there. To delete, mark the slot as tombstone to avoid breaking probe chains. Lookups hash to the starting slot, then probe until it finds a match or an empty slot. In this design, only one random access is needed for a retrieval because any further accesses are contiguous in memory, which makes hardware prefetching very effective. No dynamic allocations also means predictable layouts, and resizing can still be incremental if needed. This is great for latency, limiting the overhead to just one predictable 100 nanosecond hit, which is why such open addressing algorithms dominate in fixed key, fixed value systems. But what if records are variable length? Is there a way to access such a record with only one random access? Computer science textbooks are silent on this question, but it turns out that the answer is yes, with a variable length native hash table. The key insight is to divide the hash table not into slots that hold one record each, but into tranches, fixed size blocks, each bigger than any single record will store. Records themselves are packed end to end inside these tranches formatted like network packets. A compact header with lengths for key and value, maybe a checksum or flags, followed by the raw key bytes, then the value bytes, all contiguous. So the hash function now selects a tranche holding a number of records rather than a slot holding just one. To insert, hash to a tranche, check for enough space, append the new packetized record if room exists, or handle overflow by probing to adjacent tranches, which is open addressing at the tranche level. To look up, hash to a tranche, load it, and linearly search by parsing headers, comparing keys byte by byte until a match, then extract the value. If the record isn't found, look in the nearby tranches where it might have overflowed. To delete, since tranches are modestly sized and no record can span tranches, just compact the tranche to close up the space formerly occupied by the deleted record. This gets us back to the minimum possible number of random accesses, 1. Such a design can reduce latency floors for variable length workloads down to the 100 nanosecond theoretical minimum versus 200 nanoseconds. Trade-offs: scans cost more CPU for long tranches or many collisions, and insertions and deletions might require shifting bytes. But with smart sizing, tranche size tuned to workload averages, it's a net gain, especially for read-heavy operations that don't require much data movement. But what about records too big for a single tranche? We can't increase tranche sizes indefinitely without wasting space or hurting scan efficiency. So instead, we store an index record in the appropriate tranche, and it points to the actual record in a separate overflow space. So the index remains the primary hash table. Tranches are packed with normal-sized records consisting of headers and contiguous data. For a record exceeding the direct limit tuned to, say, a third of a tranche, to reduce storage waste from single records that take most of a tranche, we allocate space in the overflow area, a dedicated, separately managed area, which could be a single block or slab allocator for efficiency. In the index tranche, we insert a special indirect stub record, a compact header flagging it in an overflow reference, plus an offset into the overflow area and a key hash to eliminate the need to access the overflow area for each indirect record. To insert, hash to the tranche if the record fits, pack it normally. If it's oversized, allocate in the overflow area, then pack the indirect stub record in the tranche, depending if space allows, or probing/overflowing to another tranche if needed, but the table is tuned to keep tranche overflows rare. To look up, hash to a tranche, scan sequentially as before. If you hit an indirect record whose hash code matches the one for your key, follow the pointer for one extra hop to check the key and load the full record from overflow. With a good hash code, false hash matches will be quite rare and won't degrade performance at the P99 level. This approach limits the access count to slightly over 2 for big records because indirect records are just another packed record type maintaining contiguous scans in the index file, and there are no pointer chains. For P99 latency, with most of the records fitting in tranche, this is a big win compared to the conventional method. Most records hit the 100 nanosecond DRAM floor with one access, while almost all the big ones top out at 200 nanoseconds with two, as good as the ideal outcome in pointer chain designs and without their typical increase in chain length with larger databases. Plus, overflows could be huge pages for better TLB hits. This hybrid pushes us closer to hardware limits while staying flexible. But that's not the only efficiency to be gained with this design. The entire hash table is now a file-formatted table because both the index space, tranche array, and overflow space consist of one or a few contiguous chunks of memory rather than scattering data across the address space as in pointer-heavy setups. This saves not only time, but a significant amount of space, as we no longer consume memory or storage for pointers in records that fit in the tranches. All we store are the actual records with a bit of overhead for format information, lengths of keys and values, a type code to distinguish normal records from big ones, or out-of-band information like deletion markers. Such a contiguous design provides an even bigger performance gain during saves and reloads. Traditional hash tables like Redis's must traverse pointers, serialize scattered data into a compact RDB file, compressing on the fly, and reinflate on load by reallocating and repopulating. That's CPU and or memory bound with forking delays, traversal overhead, and I/O spikes bottlenecking the process. But in our file-formatted approach, a save dumps the contiguous blocks directly to disk, a raw unbuffered write to the backup device, proceeding at near native storage speeds, for example, gigabytes per second for NVMe. And since the disk is used only persistence, not random access, the save process can use streaming compression to reduce file sizes without affecting load and store latency. Reloads read the data from the file back into memory, decompressing on the fly. No structure rebuilding is needed. This slashes the time by 30 times or more for large data sets. Think seconds rather than minutes for gigabyte scale snapshots by eliminating the serialization/deserialization overhead. For P99 latencies in 24/7 systems, this design also allows fast asynchronous saves while the table is in use, so there is no significant delay before further store load update operations can proceed. New records and deletion operation markers are added to a secondary table during the save without multiple memory allocations for records added during this operation. Of course, there are trade-offs for this convenience. Store and retrieve performance are affected by the extra work needed during the asynchronous save operation to search in both tables and to merge the secondary table into the main table, but the system remains responsive at the microsecond level. This makes it feasible for use in soft real-time systems that have to run continuously. In some cases, it may be better to take the synchronous backup downtime during a slow period to preserve maximum performance during peak times, but this can be decided on the fly as needed. Also, it's an obvious extension to alternate two or more save locations to preserve the most recent backup in case of a crash during a save. So while in use, the table is memory resident, loaded via unbuffered reads to avoid page cache pollution. Saves use direct writes to similarly bypass the page cache, streaming the chunk straight to disk at device speeds without inflating memory. This keeps peak memory as just the table size plus minimal overhead. Okay, but what about rehashing? Do we need to size the table correctly at the beginning, or can we just let it grow as it needs to? It turns out that with the correct rehashing algorithm, there's no retrieval time penalty even after multiple rehashes, eliminating the need to pre-specify any particular file or table size up front. This allows the system to grow seamlessly from megabytes to terabytes without user intervention or performance cliffs. This is implemented via an incremental rehashing scheme tailored to the file formatted layout. Crucially, the rehashing algorithm allows lookups during rehashing to proceed just as they would if no rehashing were running. That is, the algorithm can go directly to the correct starting tranche rather than having to probe more than one separate location. This means consistent query performance without latency spikes. Average and P99 retrieval times stay steady even mid-rehash as the query remains a one or two cache miss operation. There is no need to move the overflow data for big records during rehashing. Only the index has to be reorganized. Furthermore, there are never two copies of the hash table in memory during rehashing, so there are no memory usage spikes during that operation. So putting this all together, memory allocation can start tiny, for example, a 2 megabyte index, auto-scaling transparently. We can save at any time, either synchronously or asynchronously. Reloads simply allocate memory based on the size of the input files and stream the file data into it. I can hear you thinking that sounds good in theory, but do you have any actual performance results? Yes. We have developed a prototype Redis module based on a library implementing a tranche-based file formatted hash table, dubbed Variable Length Native Hash Table, or VLNHT for short, emphasizing its direct support for variable length records without pointers, and here are the results. Using a benchmark setup with variable length records, keys averaging 5 to 6 bytes, values about 4 bytes, we've compared it head-to-head on against Redis on a fairly hefty server, dual Intel Xeon Gold 6326 CPUs with 512 gigabytes of DRAM, NVMe storage, Ubuntu 20.04 LTS. Note that the server also has 8 terabytes of Optane persistent memory in memory mode, but that is not needed for these tests. Comparison tests with Redis ran from 100 million to 1 billion records, measuring get throughput, nanoseconds per operation, P99 latency tails, and memory usage. Data was collected via custom loaders and Redis benchmark equivalents. Note that this dataset does not include overflow records. However, other test runs, including a proportion of overflow records, show much the same performance advantage over Redis. So how does VLNHT compare with the native Redis hash table? Let's look at the results from 100 million records to 1 billion. We'll start with average get speed under both synchronous and asynchronous persistence. With synchronous persistence, VLNHT get is 1.4 to 2.7 times as fast on average, stable at 300 to 400 nanoseconds versus Redis is climbing 410 to 660, thanks to our one random access floor versus their minimum of 2. With asynchronous persistence, VLNHT get has a penalty of 30 to 100 nanoseconds on average, but is still between 1.25 and 2 times as fast as Redis. P99 tails are even better. With synchronous persistence, VLNHT holds steady at 450 nanoseconds, over 3 times the speed of Redis at 1.5 microseconds, highlighting cache miss amplification in chains. With asynchronous persistence, there is again a penalty of about 200 nanoseconds up to 900 million records, and a spike at 1 billion, which is probably due to rehashing at that point. However, even during an asynchronous save, the 99th percentile speed is between 1.5 and 2 times as fast as Redis. What about memory efficiency? VLNHT is 4 times as efficient in RAM usage, 17 gigabytes at 1 billion record versus Redis is 70 gigabytes, owing to contiguous packing without pointer overhead. As for storage usage, VLNHT's SSD usage at 1 billion records is 12 gigabytes, almost a 50% saving compared to Redis's storage requirement of 23 gigabytes. And scalability doesn't stop at 1 billion records. Extended runs to 10 billion records with incremental rehashing and synchronous saves show VLNHT get averages staying around 350 nanoseconds, while P99 get times stay around 525. As for times with asynchronous saves, the average get time increases to around 860 nanoseconds at 10 billion, whereas P99 get time mostly stays around 1500 nanoseconds with occasional peaks at 1900. Main table memory doubles on each resizing, but remains much lower than with Redis. Overall, this means predictable ultra-low latency tails for massive datasets. As for persistence, synchronous unbuffered loads and saves clock in at 30 to 50 times faster than Redis RDP load save. 30 seconds versus 950 to load a billion records, 20 seconds versus 1050 to save. If synchronous saves still interrupt service for too long, use asynchronous ones instead, and the table is always on. Now let's put it all together at a billion records with asynchronous saves during the build process. 37% reduction in average latency for get, 43% reduction in P99 latency for get, 76% reduction in memory use, 48% reduction in storage use, 97% reduction in initial load time, 98% reduction in final save time. Thanks for attending my presentation. Let's connect.